Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you for joining in. We'll start in another 3 minutes. Mataji, do you have any PPT or you're just presenting like that?
Mataji, I have a PPT.
Yeah, you can start sharing the screen, Mataji.
Sure, Mataji. Sure. Thank you. Can you see my screen okay?
Yes, Mataji, we can see the screen.
Okay.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha. This evening we have Srimad Bhagavatam summary session by Her Grace Vrajesvari Pran Mataji. Mataji is going to enlighten us on the Srimad Bhagavatam summary, 3rd canto, 23rd chapter. Thank you, Mataji, for your valuable time and association for this evening and enlightening us on the topic of Srimad Bhagavatam. I now hand over the call to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you. Hare Krishna, everyone. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. First, I would like to start with thanking Preeti Vilasini Mataji for giving me this opportunity for this service. And also my gratitude for all the devotees who joined today and this evening on a working day to hear Krishna Katha. We'll start with the prayers. Majnanatimirandasya jnananjanashalakaya sakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurum Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanjana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyacha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachata Desa Dharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. All right. Can you all hear me okay, Mataji? My sound is audible enough?
Yes, Mataji. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Mataji. So I'm given the chapter, Canto 3, chapter number 23. The title is Devahuti's Lamentation. This is the first time I'm giving summary in this forum. So I just used my format of giving the summary of a chapter. So before we dive into the actual chapter, I just wanted to take first 5 minutes of our time, 5-10 minutes to just like a little bit of recap of last few chapters, like a high level overview to bring us to this point. So with that, we'll start. So Canto 3, also I want to talk a little bit about Canto 3 before we go into the actual chapter. So we all know that Bhagavatam describes the 10 categories of the knowledge or subject matters which are important for human beings. So there's a famous verse, Jiva Goswami also spoke this one, and it is also mentioned in Bhagavatam, 2nd canto, 10th chapter. So it starts with the Sarga, which is the primary creation by the Lord, the universal creation by the Lord. The secondary creation is Visarga. It goes on like that, Sthanam, Oshanam, Utaha, Manvantara, Ishanukada, Nirodha, Muktir, Ashraya. So all those 10 subject matter. But one must study the first 9 subject matter step by step, scrutinizingly, before we get into the 10th subject matter. Why? Because the first 9 categories of the knowledge gives the information or details about Krishna's energies, Krishna's expansion, his majesty, his greatness. So it explains so many things that we can appreciate the last one, which is Ashraya, which is the taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Lord. So we can appreciate and better understand that subject matter when we understand other 9 more thoroughly first. So in the Bhagavatam, the 10th subject matter is mentioned in the 10th canto, which is more of explains personal attributes of Krishna, his personal intimate relationship with his close devotees. So in order to get into this intimate, information, we need to understand the greatness first before we understand the sweetness, right? But not each canto, you cannot say the first canto only talks about that, the second canto only talks about that. It is not like that. All these 10 subject matters are in different degrees explained in different cantos. But each canto will be prominently explaining some subject matter. So for example, Canto 3, the reason I'm bringing up this is Canto 3 talks about mostly about Sarga, the primary creation by the Lord, and some of the Visarga, which is the secondary creation by Lord Brahma. So that's what Canto 3 prominently speaks about. But as I said, every canto has all the subject matter. So the focus of Canto 3, Sarga and Visarga, it doesn't not only focus on that, there's other information, so much, it's packed with so much, information and knowledge and wisdom in Canto 3. Other than those 2 subject matter, one chapter is dedicated for time, to understand what is time and all the details about time. One chapter is about embryology, development of fetus. And then a chapter about family life, what is, ideal and not so ideal family life, Sankhya philosophy by Kapila Dev. And he talks about Bhakti Yoga, but he talks about in contrast with the Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga. And then also, this canto covers spiritual world, material world, and one chapter talks about health in detail. So there is many, information in this Canto 3. So now we have discussed so far 22 chapters summary. Now today we are going to start the 23rd chapter. Again, high level overview of the 22 chapters. I'm going to try in 2 minutes. So Canto 3 starts with Vidura leaving the palace after being insulted by Duryodhana, and he goes on pilgrimage. Vidura goes on pilgrimage, and he meets Uddhava, and there is a conversation between Vidura and Uddhava that goes on for 4 chapters. Vidura goes into the memory of remembrance of Krishna, and he talks about the Krishna's pastime in Vrindavan, outside Vrindavan. So that goes on for 4 chapters. And then Vidura wanted to accept Uddhava as his spiritual master and receive, Krishna, hear Krishna Katha. But Uddhava being most humble, and because he's by age, he's very younger than Vidura. So he directs Vidura to Maitreya Muni. So Vidura meets Maitreya Muni, and then their conversation starts from 5th chapter. And Maitreya Muni enlightens Vidura with all the information, Bhagavatam. So it's a conversation inside the conversation, because it's actually Sukadev Goswami, Parikshit Maharaj talking about Maitreya Muni and Vidura's Samvada. So that is what's going on. So again, Vidura starts asking questions, Maitreya Muni start answering. So it initially start with the creation, Mahavishnu, and then how Garbhodaksha Vishnu come from Mahavishnu, and from his navel lotus, and then Brahma is born. After Brahma born, he meditates on absolute truth, and then he has the darshan of Garbhodaksha Vishnu, and then he gets the creative power. He gets empowered to do the secondary creation, Virat Rupa, and then a chapter about time. So it goes on like that. And then the secondary creation by Brahma starts. From Brahma's body and mind, different Prajapatis comes out, starting from 4 Kumaras, Rudra, Narada Muni, 10 sages, and all those. And then comes Swayambhuva Manu and Shatrupa. Swayambhuva Manu is the first Manu and his wife Shatrupa. Because Brahma's instruction from Lord for Brahma is to populate the universe, right? So now the creation, the secondary creation starts. So Swayambhuva Manu and Shatrupa had 5 children. But before explaining that lineage of 5 children, which goes on up to 5th canto, Maitreya Muni take a detour, because the reason is when Swayambhuva Manu and Shatrupa comes out of Brahma, the earth is under the water, Garbhodaka ocean. So Swayambhuva Manu asked, Lord Brahma, so when I produce progeny, where will they live, the living beings? Because the earth was under the water. So at that time, Varahadev appeared from Brahma's nostril, and then he brings out the earth. So there's a detour of explanation of Varahadev appearance. And also there is one more Varahadev who came to kill Hiranyaksha. So Sveta Varaha and Nila Varaha. So we're not going to go detail that. But what I'm saying is, so then when Vidura heard the Hiranyaksha name, so he wanted to know more about Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu, who are the demons. Then the 4 Kumaras cursing Jaya and Vijaya, gatekeepers of Vaikunta, and then they born as Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu. And who were the sons of? They were sons of Kashyapa and Diti. And then the question comes, how Kashyapa and Diti got a demon sons? Because they had an untimely union. And because of that, the demons were born. So it goes on until like that, and then Maitreya Muni stops there, and then again comes to Swayambhuva Manu's lineage. So Swayambhuva Manu's lineage, 5 children, 3 daughters and 2 sons. 3 daughters are Akuti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. And then 2 sons are Uttanapa and Priyavrata. So their lineage is going to be explained until 5th canto. So first he starts with Devahuti. And then Kardamumuni, who is Kardamumuni? Kardamumuni is a Prajapati, son of Lord Brahma. He was instructed by Lord Brahma that populate the universe. So he does 10,000 years of tapasya to get empowered, to get a good wife, to do the service, which is populating the earth. So after that, Lord himself give darshan to Kardamumuni and say, you will be receiving or getting your good wife, Swayambhuva Manu and Shatrupa's daughter, Devahuti. They'll bring her to you in 2 days. and you can marry her, and then I will also be born as your son, Kapila. That was instruction to Kardamumuni. So when Kardamumuni was in his ashram, last chapter was Swayambhavu Munu and Shatrupa brings Devahuti to Kardamumuni. And with one condition, Kardamumuni gives one condition. Upon that condition, he will marry Devahuti. He will say, as soon as I have my offspring or children, I will leave home for renounced order of life. With that condition, he marries Devahuti. After they get married, Swayambhavu Manu and Shatrupa goes back to their place. Now Kardamumuni and Devahuti start their married life. And that's what the 22nd chapter was. So now, so why Devahuti's lamentation now? So that's this chapter. This chapter is not very technical at all. Mostly stories, story format, I mean, not much technical, but it is also packed with a lot of messages, life lessons by our, purport by our Prabhupada. So my reference is Prabhupada's purport. And I also took some guidance from Gaurang Darshan Prabhu's Bhagavata Subodhini, and also His Grace Burujana Prabhu's unveiling his lotus feet. So this chapter has 57 verses. So this is a chapter breakdown. First, the chapter starts with Devahuti serving her husband and Kardamumuni pleased by her service. And then the second part, Devahuti asks for children. She wants to have children. And then Devahuti and Kardamumuni enjoy together, and then they give birth to 9 daughters. And then Kardamumuni leaves, planning to leave home, and Devahuti asks him to stay back. So that's a chapter breakdown. So let's go in detail now. So in the first 1 to 5 verses, Prabhupada purports, beautiful purports. It instructs the duty of the wives. But indirectly, Prabhupada also instructs how the husbands have to be, or to become a deserving such service. Because if the wife is going to do such a wonderful service, and the husband has to be deserving for that service, like Kardamumuni. So he's indirectly instructing the husbands also in those first few verses. So let's start with the first verse. So first verse, first 3 verses explain the exalted qualities of Mother Devahuti. And how we can understand her exalted quality is we need to compare where she comes from and where is she now. So Swayambhavu Manu is an emperor. He's the first Manu ruling the whole universe, right? So she's a princess. And from that lifestyle, princess lifestyle, she took a simple, humble sage living in a humble cottage as her husband. Look at the lifestyle here. So that's a way we can understand her exalted qualities. But Prabhupada explained very beautifully in each purport. So we'll start with the first verse. In the first verse, there's 3 qualities of Devahuti mentioned. The first one is sadvi, chastity, or faithfulness to her husband. Second quality is patim ingida kovita. That means understanding the desires of her husband. Patim means husband. Ingita kovita means understanding his mentality or desire. And the third quality mentioned in the first verse was pritya, great love. So when you read these 3 qualities, chastity, understanding the mentality of a husband, great love, okay, so that most of the women do. It's not doesn't look like it's a big exalted qualities. But the 4th sentence of this verse is the comparison. That makes it so beautiful here. The 4th sentence is Bhavaniva Bhavam Prabhum. That means Bhavaniva means the goddess. Bhavani is goddess of fortune. Goddess Parvati. I was talking about goddess of fortune in other class, so I was keep coming to my mind. So Bhavani is the goddess Parvati. Iva means light. Bhava means Lord Shiva. Prabhu means her Lord. So Mother Devahuti served her husband like Parvati served her Lord Shiva. Why Mother Parvati is compared, or Devahuti is compared to Mother Parvati? we all know the position of Lord Shiva. He's the exalted Vaishnava, Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. But if you look at his living, he don't have a house. He lives under a tree. Not, he spent his time in meditation, lives like a beggar, right? But who is Mother Parvati? She's also like a daughter of King of Himalayas, like a princess. And she voluntarily accepted Lord Shiva as her husband because he's the great Vaishnava and served him so nicely. So that is what compared to Mother Parvati, Devahuti here, Parvati. So that we can understand the qualities of Mother Devahuti. In the purport, Prabhupada writes, in those days, the girls are taught to worship Lord Shiva to get a husband like him. Because if a girl is fortunate enough to get a husband like a perfect Vaishnava, the life will be successful for them. The life will be perfect. That was those days. They are not taught to, they are not, asked to look for husband with a lot of richness or material opulence and all those. Get a good Vaishnava husband. That's what they are taught. This is not in Prabhupada purport. I was just thinking nowadays, it's totally opposite what the girls are looking for in a husband, handsome, materially rich, maybe a celebrity, or those categories are now priority. Even if they drink or smoke, that became a normal now. You cannot find anybody or any guy without that habit. So it's okay as long as they're good looking, making money, and they're society wise they're in a good caliber. That's what the priorities are. But those days you need to have a Vaishnava husband, your life will be successful. That's what Prabhupada writes. So let's go on to the second verse. So second verse explain again the qualities of Mother Devahuti, because qualities of a great husband's great wife, right? So few qualities are mentioned here. Vishrambena, which means intimacy. Intimacy is, we need to, Prabhupada right, wife has to serve the husband like an intimate friend. And then he also says, in the verse also says Gauravena. Gauravena means great respect. But at the same time, husband has to be given a great respect also. Why that is given in the purport, we'll come to that. But if you see these two a little bit, you cannot find it in the same relationship. Sometimes a husband may treat the wife more intimately or like a friend, but then they will lose the respect. Not, or sometimes the wife will treat the husband in so much great respect, but then they are it's a fearful relationship. There is no intimacy there. But she had both, Vishrambena, Gauravena. Also purity of mind and body, Atma Sauchena. That was her one of her qualities. Sense control, Dhamena. Sauhirdena means love. Sweet words. She served him with sweet words. Vacha, Madhurya. So those are the qualities mentioned in the second verse. So we'll see some of the purport. Prabhupada mentioned again the same thing. Vishrambena and Gauravena. He says that the husband is very intimate friend. Therefore, the wife must render service just like an intimate friend. At the same time, she must understand that the husband is superior in position, and thus she must offer him all respect. So let's go on to the next thing Prabhupada explained in the purport about the man's psychology and woman's psychology are different. So let's keep this, our discussion within this context, because, sometimes this can get a little controversial about this. But I really like the purport of Prabhupada here. Prabhupada says that man's psychology and woman's psychology are different. Why? Because the man bodily frame, it's only material body we are talking about. It's not the spirit soul level, okay? So the man, the bodily frame, constituted bodily frame, by nature, they want to be superior to his wife or woman by bodily nature. Again, we're talking about the material elements, earth, water, fire. That's what our body made up of, right? And then female, by bodily, like a frame or constitution, they're naturally inferior to their husband. So by nature's instinct, the husband wants to post himself as superior to the wife, and that must be observed. Even if there is some wrong on the part of the husband, the wife must tolerate it. Why? It's not like it's not like they're the slave that they have to tolerate it. They have to tolerate it so that way there's no misunderstanding between husband and wife. So that's what Prabhupada explained. So why he's explaining this one? Because she, Devahuti, served Kardama Muni with great respect. And then the third verse talks about more qualities of Devahuti. Giving up all lust, pride, envy, greed, sinful activities, and vanity. Kamam, dhambam, dvesham, lobam, agam, madam. She gave up all of that. Why it's mentioned, especially here, the pride and everything we'll see in that purport. She also worked or served him very saintly and diligently. So that's one of the qualities mentioned in third verse. So I already mentioned in the beginning, Devahuti's parentage. If you look at Kardama Muni, of course, he's spiritually very high level. So Prabhupada, right, although the wife may be equal to her husband in spiritual consciousness, she should not be vainly proud. Why? Because if wife is very proud of her parental position, and if they are not submissive or cooperative, then the married life will have a lot of misunderstanding. That's what he says in the last line. As soon as the wife becomes proud of her parentage, her pride creates great misunderstanding between the husband and wife. Their nuptial life is ruined. Devahuti was very careful about that. Therefore, it is said here that she gave up pride completely, even though her parentage was so high level. But of course, Kardama Muni was, very advanced in spiritual level. So that's the 3 verses talks about Devahuti's qualities. So let's move on. So 4th and 5th verse talks about Devahuti becoming emaciated. Why? She was so absorbed in serving her husband. She was observing all the religious things and serving him. She didn't care for herself. She neglected her own body, and she became very thin, weak, and emaciated. And Prabhupada writes an example of Gandhari here. Why he's bringing Gandhari here is the word he uses, Samanuvrata. It says that, Gandhari decided to, as soon as she came to know that her would-be is a blind person, she tied her eyes too. Why? Prabhupada right here, she decided that since her husband was blind, she must also act like a blind woman. Otherwise, she would be proud of her eyes, and her husband would be seen as inferior. And that word, which is Samanuvrata, indicates the duty of a wife to adapt the special circumstances in which the husband is situated. So why Prabhupada is bringing up this point is Devahuti adapted to the special circumstances her husband was situated. Very simple life, trying to do, spiritual realization. That's what Kardama Muni was doing. And she was just simply serving him like a, simple woman. So the example is Gandhari. And then Prabhupada, right? Of course, Kardama Muni was a great person. I think a chapter before it says he was a Mahayogi. So if whatever result he gets, the wife will get. So it says, of course, if the husband is as great as Kardama Muni, then a very good result accrues from following him. But then one may ask, what if the husband is not that great? Prabhupada, right? Even if the husband is not a great devotee like a Kardama Muni, it is the wife's duty to adapt herself according to his mentality. Why? Because the life will be happy then. We're not going to go out of the context. What if the husband is not a devotee? What if the husband does not support, wife's devotional practices? Those things are out of context now. We'll stick with the context. Kardama Muni, and even if the husband is not that great of Kardama Muni, one has to, adapt to husband's mentality in order to keep the married life happy. So that's what Prabhupada writes. So Kardama Muni looks at Devahuti out of compassion. He became overwhelmed with the compassion for her because she's so thin, weak, and serving him. So he says that you have served me without caring for your body, which is most dear to all. That's a very important thing here. Our body is most dear to us. If somebody asks us, what is your favorite thing? What is so dear to you? And things like that. Sometimes people may say my children or my parents or whatever. But if you look at that, it is not the children that they are very fond of. It is because the children are extension of their body. The body comes first. The body is most dear to everybody. That is the biggest possession, we think. And because the other relations are extension, we say that we are, they are dear to me, kind of. So Kardama Muni is saying, body is dear to you, but you ignore your body just to serve me for my spiritual elevation. That is called selfless service. And he's so compassionate. And you know what he's doing? He's saying Kardama Muni blessed her with the pious result of his austerity, meditation, and Krishna consciousness. He said, I will bless you that you get Bhagavat Prasad. What is that Bhagavat Prasad? Which is the mercy of the Lord, which is the love of God. He's saying, I will offer whatever I got because of my austerity, my meditation, my devotional life or Krishna consciousness to you because you served me. And what is that Bhagavat Prasad give is love of God. And what is that exactly does is, it gives free from fear, abhayan, and free from lamentation, ashoka. So the result is mercy of the Lord, which is love of God, which gives the fear of free from fear and lamentation. I'll give you that. And you know what Devahuti says? So the message, let's read the message here. Prabhupada writes that, sorry, I have to keep moving this back and forth. So the message is, what is the secret of success here? Just because Devahuti was serving her husband, she's able to share her husband's achievements, just simply serving him, right? And then automatically she's getting the Bhagavat Prasad, which is the grace of the Lord, which is very valuable gift. It's love of God. That's what he's wanting to give it to her, transcendental gift. For as Prabhupada gives a message here, Yasya Prasada Bhagavat Prasada, means similarly a sincere disciple, simply by serving a bona fide spiritual master, can achieve all the mercy of the Lord and spiritual master simultaneously. So that's the secret of success. So simply, like Mother Devahuti, what all the qualities she had, same qualities, try to inculcate and serve the spiritual master, we get the mercy of the Lord and the spiritual master. That's the secret of success. And Prabhupada in the purport talks about Narada Muni. Narada Muni did the same thing, serving the Bhakti Vedantist, simply eating the remnants, hearing from them, he got purified. And then he went From basically, Mahat Sevaya, Shraddha, all the way to Prema Bhakti. So that was the life of Narada Muni. So Prabhupada mentioned in that purport. So we are okay with the time. So now after Kardama Muni offers the Bhagavat Prasad to Devahuti, she's not rejecting it. First, she's not rejecting it. I don't want it. But she has a different idea in her heart that she's expressing. I know you got, she says, I know you have achieved the spiritual perfection. You're giving me the, Bhagavat Prasad. I'll take it, but not now. I want children. Innocent, simple Devahuti asking for children to Kardama Muni. And my body is not fit for, union or bearing children. So make my body fit and give me children. Because for Prabhupada, right in the purport, for a woman, a faithful and chaste woman, wife, to beget children from a glorious man, it's very fortunate for them. They feel very fortunate, and they want to feel that happiness, being a mother, that make me mother. I want to feel that happiness. That was a request. And but the lifestyle, if you look at the lifestyle of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, they are in a very simple life, and they mode of goodness. And to arouse passion, to beget children, they have to be in mode of passion. So that's what she's saying. We need a suitable home, remake my body, and I want to have children. But we may think, like, she's been with her husband serving, and she's from a great parentage. It sounds like she's asking for some material enjoyment or material attachment, something, asking for children. But actually it was, Krishna's plan, in a greater plan. Because what was the, instruction for Kardama Muni? And what was the instruction for Brahma to populate the universe? So Kardama Muni and Devahuti got married to populate the universe, and that plan has to be done, executed. And also Lord said to Kardama Muni that I will be born as a son for you. So those are the plan of Lord, which has to be executed. And that's the reason that Devahuti is asking. Apparently it may seem like, she's asking for, material things. So, but in this also we can compare and contrast with Kashyapa and Diti and Kardama Muni and Devahuti. Because if you see in Devahuti's request, she's mentioning there's a word that says, according to scriptures. According to the scriptures, make our living, make my body, everything good, so we can have children. It's a proper request from her. But if you look at Kashyapa and Diti did not wait for anything. As soon as the impure desire came in her mind, she wanted the union right away. It doesn't matter whether the time is untimely or inauspicious. She didn't care for it, and Kashyapa gave it. So that was the compare and contrast, like how Devahuti is going by according to religious or the spiritual scriptures, I mean. So hearing the instruction or hearing the desire of Devahuti, Kardama Muni creates a 7-storied aerial mansion. And this chapter, almost more than 10 verses, describes the beauty of that aerial mansion. I was going to just skip that, like maybe I can just tell them that, 10 verses talks about the beauty of aerial mansion. But there are a few messages after that beauty of the aerial mansion is mentioned. I thought, no, that we need to hear that, and then we can appreciate Kardama Muni's power. So I thought we'll just discuss a little bit, not the whole thing, but a little bit. So that aerial mansion, just the flying, I think the mansion, 7-storied. And in the verse, it says, Sarva Kama Dugam, which is, it yields whatever one desires. So, and then the beauty is so beautifully explained. Verses 13 from 21. So it was bedecked with all sorts of jewels, and the pillars were made of all precious stones. I just want everybody to imagine how all will look. I tried to get some pictures, but it's not the real aerial mansion, just some Google pictures. It was decorated with flags, festoons, artistic work of variegated colors. And then it was embellished with the wreaths of charming flowers. And the flowers attracted the humming bees. And there are so many tapestries of linen, silk, and other fabrics, with the beds, couches, fans, and seats. And then on the walls, there's artistic engravings, and the floor were made of emerald. And the entrance, the threshold was coral. And the doors were decorated with the diamonds, and the domes were the gold pinnacles, and the crowned domes were sapphires. And there was pleasure grounds, resting chambers, bedrooms, inner and outer yards. Not only it was the flying mansion, but they also had yards. Wow, so that's only few verses I picked just to give an idea of how beautifully that aerial mansion was, that Kardama Muni created just by his will. And then looking at the aerial mansion, Devahuti was still displeased in her heart. She didn't look, very happy. And Kardamuni was able to understand what she's thinking because her body was not fit to enter the palace or the mansion. So Kardamuni said, okay, go ahead and take a bath in the Bindu Sarovar, which is filled with sacred waters of Saraswati. I think the chapter before, I think Preeti Vilasini Mataji mentioned about Bindu Sarovar. It's created by Lord himself, and it's filled with Saraswati river. And he said, go and take a bath. So Devahuti enters the Bindu Sarovar. Inside, to her surprise, there is already 1,000 maidservants waiting for her. And when she entered, she had a matted hair, dirty skin, emaciated look. So they bathed her with a nice fragrant oil and ointments, washed her hair, dressed her nicely with the beautiful garments, decorated her with tilak, necklace, anklets, bracelets, bangles. And then a couple of verses talks about her beauty. Even at the corner of her eyes was little moistened, and that made her look so pretty. And her eyebrows, her waist, and she just, regained her former beauty, when she was a princess. And then they showed her a mirror to look at her beauty. And then at once she thought about her husband, Kardamuni. As soon as she thought about him, they all were transported to where he was. The maidservants and the Mother Devahuti went to his presence in aerial mansion. So that's a few verses. And then they travel and enjoy in the aerial mansion. And there are a few verses, talks about 34 to 43. First, they went on the pleasure valleys of Mount Meru. And then they visited all the celestial gardens. There are like 5 gardens names also mentioned. And they visited various planets. It says he surpassed even the demigods. What does that basically means is, we conditioned soul cannot travel from one planet to another planet. We cannot, even demigods cannot. But Kardamuni was able to. It's, for the devotee, nothing is impossible. With this mystic power, he was able to do that. He even surpassed. So he's above the conditioned soul. So, because even demigods are conditioned. And then like that, they spent like 100 years. So it seems like, whoa, after this kind of simple and austere life, then they are enjoying like 100 years now. But if you look at that, 100 years is not a big deal or big amount. It's not a very significant amount in those days, because it's an initial creation. So we know it's Satyuga. So they live for hundreds of years. So, we know Kardamuni did austerity for how many years? 10,000 years, right? Just to get a good wife. He did austerity or tapasya for 10,000 years. So for him to be with his wife, to fulfill her desire for 100 years, it's not a big deal, right? It's not a significant amount. And again, the intention was not, intention was to produce a good progeny. Even, I think there's the next verse. It's when they were having union, even the siddhas and, the higher celestial beings also were appreciating it. We may think of why they're appreciating that kind of act. Actually, because the intention was to produce a good progeny for the universal affairs. That was the reason. So that's what that act even being appreciated. But in one of the verse, in the 38th verse, even though apparently it may seem like, Kardamuni has material attachment and he's enjoying, he has material desire and enjoying, his glory did not diminish. Kardamuni did not lose his glory. So beautiful, right? And then Maitreya Muni, it says here, what is difficult to achieve a determined man who have taken a refuge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's lotus feet? Because Prabhupada writes in the purport, Kardamuni is special not because he was a great mystic, because he was a great devotee. So nothing is impossible for the devotees. So we'll keep going. So union of Kardamuni and Devahuti. So after they go in the travel in the aerial mansion, they come back to their cottage, and Kardama Muni divides himself into 9, and he impregnates Devahuti just to fulfill her desire. That's what Prabhupada writes, why he has to divide. There maybe question comes, why he's dividing him into 9? Devahuti is 1. So just to, fulfill her desire, he's divided himself into 9. And Prabhupada also writes that the mystic yogi or any yogis cannot do more than 8 or 9 division. Like they cannot divide more than that, but Krishna can do unlimited times. What is the other Muni that Prabhupada mentioned in the purport? I think Saubari, he divided 8 times. So anyway, so that is possible for the devotee who has achieved mystic powers. So Devahuti gave birth to 9 daughters, and the 9 daughters looked like a fragrant lotus flowers, beautiful girls, 9. So after the children were born, as he mentioned, Kardama Muni mentioned in the previous chapter, before getting married, that I will leave home as soon as children were born. So he's preparing to leave. So until now, it's kind of easy. Then the real message of this chapter comes here in the 51 verse. Beautiful verse by Mother Devahuti. She's saying, give me abhayam. You're leaving. Give me abhayam. Give me fearlessness. Sarvam tat Bhagavan Mahyam Upavaha Pradishrutam Athapi me Prapannaya. Prapannaya means unto one who has surrendered. Abhayam Dhatum Arhasi. You need to give me abhayam because you're superior, I'm subordinate. It's your responsibility to give abhayam, fearlessness. You're leaving, and your daughters, once they grow up, they'll get married and they'll go. Who is there for me? I am your surrendered soul, so you should give me fearlessness. Because any material condition is fearful. So she's asking something more than that. Prabhupada writes, material existence is always fearful, full of anxiety. Devahuti is saying, you have given me all sorts of material comforts by your yogic power. But since you're now prepared to go away, you must give me your last award so that I may get free from this material conditional life. Indirectly, she's asking for a son. And the son is not also to give material comfort or material riches. The son to give spiritual knowledge to help her with the liberation. That's what she's indirectly asking. So that's what Prabhupada right here. Devahuti is indirectly asking that in his absence from home, there be at least one male child to give her relief from her anxieties. And the relief is not just, she was so comfortable in the material situation, right? All the aerial mansion and so much enjoyment. But now she's worried about anxiety. Why? Because she don't have that spiritual instruction. The relief means spiritual instruction. Relief does not mean material comforts. Material comforts will end with the end of the body. The spiritual instruction will not end. It will go on with the spirit soul. Instruction in spiritual advancement is necessary. But without having a worthy son, how could Devahuti advance in spiritual knowledge? So she's asking for abhayam. Beautiful verse. And then next few verses, she regrets, she laments, she does introspection, and she realizes, and that will end the chapter. So what is her regrets? She loved her husband so much. She served him so much, but she did not ask for spiritual guidance, right? She had some, sense gratification with him. She savored nicely material life because her husband was so mystic and he was able to give her whatever she wanted. But she says she simply wasted so much of her time in sense gratification. She says, I was not aware of your greatness. You were so potent. You can give me any, spiritual guidance and advancement, but I was not aware. I was attached to the absent and objects of senses, not knowing your greatness. And I did not make use of your saintly association. I neglected to cultivate the knowledge of Supreme Lord. Now I want to progress spiritually and you're leaving. Then one may ask, how did she get that realization all of a sudden? Because she followed this religious path of material satisfaction. Even though she was doing some material satisfaction, the path she took was very religious. When we have that, eventually it will lead to material detachment and spiritual desire will come up, varnashram then. So that's what she's now desiring for, spiritual advancement and liberation finally. So she's regretting so bad. And then Devahuti pleads Kardama to stay back. Last few verses. Beautiful instructive verse by Mother Devahuti here, association of devotees. She's saying that association for sense gratification is a path of bondage. If we associate with somebody for sense gratification, that's going to entangle us in the material world again, birth and death. But the same type of association with the saintly person leads to a path of liberation, even if it's performed without knowledge. So even somebody don't have a knowledge of that saintly person, they still associate with saintly person, or they don't know how to cultivate the knowledge of spiritual, Supreme Lord, or advance in spirituality. Even that, if they just simply associate with saintly person, that will help them. It's like a fire. We don't have to know about the fire, the harmness of fire. As long as we go near, we get burned, right? That was the power of association with the saintly people or devotees. So I can just say one example here myself. It will take 5 minutes. We can finish. So I met my spiritual master, and then I did not take the spiritual life serious for 10 years. I personally had association with my spiritual master, served him off and on when he visited the place I lived. I was in association of devotees, but then the life didn't go on for me for 10 years. I sometimes regret, wow. So my spiritual master used to say there is two types. One is the wet wood and a dry wood. Dry wood, as soon as, ignite, fire will come on. But the wet wood takes forever or for a long time to ignite. So I must be in one of the category that, it took really 10 years for me to take the spiritual life seriously, even though I had association of devotees and even my own spiritual master. I just wanted to share that here. So let's move on. And the next was very beautiful. She says that Nehayat karma dharmaya. If somebody's karma or the duties does not lead to dharma, means religious activities, na viragaya kalpate. That dharma, that whatever they're doing, the dharma, if it doesn't lead to viragaya, means renunciation. Na tirthapada sevayai. That means if the renunciation does not lead to bhakti or seva, jivan api mrtohi saha. Even if they're alive, even if they're breathing, they're compared to dead body. So basically our karma, whatever activities we do, whatever work we do, it has to lead to dharma. And the dharma should lead to renunciation. Not just a material renunciation, not material detachment. We have to get attached to spiritual. That's eventually, we can be materially detached, but what is the point if you don't get attached to spiritual, right? So karma should lead to dharma, dharma should lead to viraga, viraga should lead to seva. And if it doesn't happen, then it's waste. That's what she herself regretting and saying this, that's what she did, karma and dharma. Now she's up to the point of viraga. She's kind of materially detached, but the next is seva. So it's a very beautiful verse. I want to read the translation. Anyone whose work is not meant to elevate him to religious life. Work is karma, religious life is dharma. Anyone whose religious ritualistic performance do not rise him to renunciation. So dharma doesn't lead to viraga or vairagya. Or anyone situated in renunciation that does not lead him to devotional service, that's seva, to the tirtha pada, must be considered dead, although he's breathing. So beautiful instructive verse by Devahuti. Finally, she says, that's a very beautiful introspection that she does. I have been solidly cheated by Maya. Vanchita means cheated. Maya dridam. Strongly or solidly, I'm cheated by Maya. Why? Because she had so much association with the great Muni, Kardama Muni, but she didn't make use of that association. So she's saying that I'm solidly cheated by Maya. Beautiful, realization there, or introspection. And Prabhupada concludes here how the materialistic attitude is not helpful for spiritual life. He's saying that, Prabhupada says that intelligent men should utilize good opportunities. And the way Prabhupada writes so beautifully, the first opportunity, human form of life. Second opportunity, take a birth in a suitable family. Suitable for what? Cultivating the spiritual knowledge. So first opportunity is human form. Second opportunity is a suitable family. Did Devahuti had that? Yes, human form of life. Suitable family? Yes, Swayambhu Manu's daughter, Brahma's granddaughter. And then there's a chance for spiritual knowledge. Yes, she married to Kardama Muni. So those are rarely obtained. And the greatest opportunity is to have an association of saintly person. Devahuti was conscious that she was born as a daughter of an emperor. She was sufficiently educated and cultured. At last, she got Kardama Muni, a saintly person, a great yogi, as her husband. Still, if she didn't get liberation from the entanglement of material energy, then certainly she would be cheated by the insurmountable illusory energy. I don't want to read the whole thing. Let's go to the last one. Material achievement is actually no achievement. Because as soon as one is illusioned by the material gifts, he becomes more and more entangled. And there is no question of liberation. One should be intelligent enough to know how to utilize material assets for the purpose of spiritual realization. So that was the last verse in this chapter, Mother Devahuti's lamentation. This is summary of the summary. I have highlight verses, or my favorite verses, I can say. The first 3 verses were my favorite qualities of Mother Devahuti. We can just meditate on it. Actually, this preparation for this presentation the class was very powerful for me. Because, I was given this topic 2 weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, right? So once you have the topic, you start meditating, right? So when I read this, again, every day, the whole thing was whenever I'm thinking or doing something, that's one coming to mind, a lot of purification, this meditating on this. So I like the first few verses about Mother Devahuti. And then my favorite one is the fearlessness. She's asking for abhayam, Sometimes we may not even, the introspection and, asking for it, sometimes it doesn't happen. So periodic introspection, how to improve or how to advance in our spiritual life. Those things are very important, I felt. So asking for abhayam, and then importance of taking advantage of devotee association that she's talking about. And then her realization, karma, dharma, vairagya, and seva. That has to happen in one's life. Otherwise, it's waste. And then finally, she was, she feels like she was cheated by Maya, Devahuti's introspection, 57th verse. Those are highlight verses in this chapter. I would like to conclude here.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining and listening to me. We can have some comments or discussion. We have 5 minutes. Also, please feel free to correct or anything if I said something which is not in alignment with our acharyas and Prabhupada's purpose. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. What a pleasure to hear from you. It was so nicely presented, amazing flow. And I like the way you stopped at different points when you were reflecting on certain verses, driving forth the important points. It was such a seamless flow of thought and an amazing, amazing class. Really, this 1 hour it just flew by because of the command that you have on this scripture and your style of presentation. Thank you so much. So grateful to you, and we're so happy to have you with us, Mataji. Thank you so much. And I think we should have more of your classes. I hopefully in more sessions. So thank you again for your association, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for your sweet feedback. I'll try to keep that up. I will really try. And thank you so much for this opportunity. This preparation for the class is very purifying. So I thank everyone. I thank Preeti Vilasini Mataji for that. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Dandavat Pranam. What a beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a sweet class, especially the division of the verses that even Subodhini has, but then the way you explain is very, very nice. Like how you have first initially talked about Dehavati qualities and especially the point that you were talking about, like, any ordinary wife, even having the same respect. What makes speciality about Devahuti, you have compared with the Parvati and the explanation. So beautiful, Mataji, everything, each and every point, it directly went into the heart. The way you explained about the whole, what do you call that? The one that Kardama Muni created, the palace, how it was, and you were telling your realization that you just want to skip those 10 verses, but then you gave us the details of minute details about how it looks like. It's so nice, Mataji. And the one important thing I was thinking when you are describing how they were decorating their Oti, even nowadays, the big cosmic world industries, they just show like people who are like completely very bad and ugly. They just wanted to make them beauty. I was just imagining how you are talking, because Devahuti has completely lost her everything, right? She's completely in austere life, and she's very weak, and you were just describing how her hair was also. I was just remembering all that. Thank you, Mataji. Whole class was so nice, and especially like that one, like how husband and wife relation should be always, it should not be we are not dominating the wife or the husband. It's like, it's in that way husband and wife can live happily. The way you explained is very nice. You were telling that it might be controversial, but the way you explained it, it never looked like a controversial. The way the sweetness is there. Thank you, Mataji. Such a beautiful class. Really very grateful to you. And the devotee association, you are talking about how it's so important, right? Just by being with them, you'll get everything. How Devati was feeling very sad that she was not able to get that valuable association in a proper way. Even sometimes we also, like, right, when we had a good association of devotees, that time we will not value. And then once we come into proper Krishna consciousness, there is nobody to guide us. The situation will be, then we will understand what's the value of really devotees association is. Because I went through that. I actually, when everybody was there, I was not at all interested in Krishna consciousness. Why these people are pulling me? I was like that. And once I became serious in my Krishna consciousness, there was nobody to guide. Oh my God, then I understood what is the importance of association. Thank you, Mataji. Very, very sweet and wonderful class. I really loved it. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam, Jai Srila Prabhupada. Mataji, it was really very beautiful class, Mataji. The way you explained, and wherever you stress the points of Prabhupada's purpose, it was really very nice. And because of early morning here, I couldn't look at the screen so much, but I could see that what you explained, the travel of the Kardama Muni with Devahuti, that was really very nice, the way you had made the flowchart. And as you said, we all are wet wood, not able to, still take the instructions of our Guru Maharaj. Thank you very much for enlightening so many things in this very short time. You covered it very nice, and thank you very much once again for this Seva, Mataji.
Thank
and
you.
Could you kindly explain me one thing, Mataji, that how the Saubar Muni expanded himself to, because he got married with 50 queens of kings. But Prabhupada writes that he expanded himself eight times, that a maximum a yogi can expand himself to 9. So
Yes.
could you kindly explain me only the Saubar Muni part, Mataji? Thank you very much once again. Hare Krishna.
Sorry, Mataji. I have to refresh my memory about that pastime. I'm not remembering exactly. But you know the pastime, right, about Sabri Muni, how he lost his, he fell down from his austerity. But
Yes,
other
yes,
Matajis and Prabhu can correct me if I am wrong. But the whole pastime, I don't remember. I have to go back. But I do remember that, you know, when he got married, he did divide himself 8 and not 9. But that's what Prabhupada was quoting here. A yogi can go up to 9, not more than that. So.
yes, Mataji. I do also remember when I was reading about it. But actually, Saubhamuni, he gets married with 50 queens. So
yeah,
did
I have to go back and refer.
Oh, thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam. Jai Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Really amazing to hear from you. I really loved how you summarized first, like all the 10 cantos, and then the chapter, the whole third canto section that we are reading, and then went back into this chapter and explained the whole context. And it was so beautiful how you described about the qualities of Devahuti and why she was being compared, to Bhavani. And also, you explained so beautifully how fearlessness, what can help bring that fearlessness in Devahuti. So thank you so much. And thank you for explaining also, their position as to why they are, going ahead with procreation, even though after and having, children, even after doing so much austerity. So it was very beautifully explained, Mataji. Very grateful to you. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you all so much. You're all like so good, attentive, and I feel like I need to put more, into it. So because you're all picking up so many points and you're summarizing it again, it's so nice, so nice. Thank you.
Matsya, I wanted to say one more thing. I really like the comparison of Kashyapa and Diti. And here, Kardama Muni, Devahuti asking for a same thing, request for a child. The differences, the mood, that was really very nice highlighted, Mataji. I don't know if Srila Prabhupada is given in the purport, but the comparison was really wonderful, Mataji, to understand how devotee attitude and non-devotee attitude, or the person for sense gratification, who is in the sense gratification, and the person who is really in mood of a devotion, that's differentiates, Mataji. Very, very beautifully explained that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Nancy. I think I got that from Bhurijana Prabhu's book. I think I don't remember reading it in Prabhupada purport, because for this class I was referring to Bhurijana Prabhu's book and listening to some lectures also. So I think the source is, I think, Bhurijana Prabhu, that compare contrast between two couples. Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji, such a wonderful class. I really liked your class, Mataji. It was very reflective and very practically relevant also. The highlights you made about the woman marriage life and wife and husband relationship also was wonderful. I was remembering how Devaki Mataji wrote a book called Spiritual Culture. You might have seen. That's also one of the key theme for the book is what you highlighted today. From the verses about how many have this need to be wanting to be superior, right. And then like that is one of the highlight of our book also. Yeah, nicely highlighted, Mataji, all the practical relevant things. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you. So since you brought up the Devaki Mataji one, I think I'll take a minute to explain. I didn't read her book, but I follow her in the Facebook. My psychophysical nature, I'm not a dominant personality, but whenever I read Prabhupada's commentary or purport about men dominant, women, and men needs and women need protection and all that. Sometimes something ticks me inside. Gosh, how can that be? How can that be? You know, we are also not every woman is average. You know, a lot of men do so good like men. So why? Until I read the blog from Devi Mataji. So she wrote, whether it's man or woman, our body is made of material elements. The 5 elements, ether, water, air, fire, plus 3 subtle elements. Intelligence, false ego, and mind, intelligence, and false ego. So by nature, by the makeup, if men is more intelligence, women is a little less intelligent, because that's a word Prabhupada used, women less intelligent. And for them, this Shudra, less intelligent women, you know, things like that. So those 8 things that we made of are material elements. So Mataji wrote, if a man has a big feet and a woman has a small feet, do you get offended? No, it's just their body makeup. Yeah, they have a big feet, you have a small feet, that's it. The same way, the intelligence also a material element. They have a little bit more than women. That's okay. It's material element. It's just our outer body covering. It's not about spirit soul. That day, when I read that really helped me to get out of that. Every time when I read Prabhupada's purport, less intelligent woman, every time I read that comes to me. Intelligence, a little bit more. There's so many animals also there. You know, they have so many power than us. They can see from far. They can live longer than the human beings, or they can fly. There's so many things. Do we get, you know, jealous of them or get offended? Oh, they can do that much. The same way, intelligence is material and they have more. That's okay. And their bodily makeup, they want to be superior. That's okay. We don't fight with that. So we accept, but we don't want to be treated as slaves also. We need protection, but not like slaves. We need protection because our bodily constitution, we need to be protected, not because we are less or inferior. So with that, we can end Mataji. Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity again. Vanchakalpatarubhyacha, kripa sindhubhi evacha, paritanam pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, namo Antakote Vaishnavavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Grace, Vrajesvari Pran Mataji ki jai. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful class. Very grateful to you. And we will wait for the next session. Next Thursday, we'll meet with other speaker and the next chapter. Thank you. We'll close the call for today.